What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in to talk a little bit about some upcoming content which we're going to get as part of Echoes, the first episode for Destiny 2. And specifically in this one, we are going to talk about an upcoming exotic weapon and a new mission that we'll get. So naturally, spoiler alert, if you don't want to know about it, don't watch the video. There's not much more I can say on that front, but we are primarily going to focus on information which is available in the database right now, and it gives us some insights into what the next exotic weapon that we'll get access to will actually be like. So a bit of an opportunity to look ahead right here. Of course, episodes are now broken down into 3 separate acts. Currently, we're in Act 1 of the episode. Then as we go into Act 2, we'll get new kind of primary activities associated with Echoes, as well as story updates. New weapons will become available in the pool, as well as Season Pass ranks and artifact mods. And the same can be said for Act 3 of Episode 1, and I believe Act 2 will launch sort of mid-July, with Act 3 dropping at the end of August. And it's during Act 3 that we're actually going to get access to this new weapon. So, Destiny Bulletin shared right here, Episode Echoes, the new secret exotic weapon and mission, will release in Act 3 after August 27th. And that's based on some information we have about seasonal challenges and things like that. We can't say specifically at which point after August 27th this weapon will drop, as it might be after the first couple of weeks of Act 3, so potentially even in September. Although, the upcoming weapon will require multiple weeks of upgrades, as we've seen in the past with exotic mission weapons, and that includes catalyst refits, intrinsic upgrades, and more. So here we go, let's take a look at it. This was shared by Bungie Leaks. And the next exotic weapon is called Choir of One, which is a craftable void auto rifle. We can actually get a look at the weapon through the database right here. This is an Eververse promo image, I believe. And as far as I know, the top one is the sort of standard skin for the weapon, and then there is the ornament at the bottom as well. But in terms of what this weapon can do, the exotic intrinsic trait is called Command Frame, and it fires extended range, heavy caliber projectiles at a reduced rate of fire, and deals increased precision damage when aiming down sights. We can also see that there will be 4 different variants of this perk, as they'll be sort of intrinsic upgrades. But additionally, the second trait is called Fanatical Lance, and rapid final blows cause targets to explode in a pool of radiolarian fluid. Then hip firing launches multiple projectiles at once in a slower moving spread pattern, and projectiles detonate on impact. And actually, I think the Lost Signal grenade launcher that we've got at the moment, that's one of the Season Pass weapons for Echoes, would appear to have pretty similar functionality to part of that trait. And so when we hipfire Choir of One, it's probably going to do something similar to what this grenade launcher can do, at least by the sounds of the perk. So I guess the grenade launcher has almost given us a little preview of some of what this weapon will do. But in terms of the source, the exotic mission apparently will be called Encore. Again, that will drop in Act 3. We're not sure what the exotic mission will entail. I was kind of wondering whether the Enigma Protocol mission, which we have access to at the moment, might be something that sort of leads to the exotic quest over time. That isn't confirmed, it's just speculation on my part. But kind of like the Excalibur exotic mission, Enigma Protocol sort of has that timed component. Of course, also in the Vex network. So it's a possibility that it will be something similar to that. On top of the main exotic mission and quest though, there'll be additional catalyst quests that roll out week over week. So there is Choir Upheaval, Choir Eternal, and Escalate. So if the first catalyst upgrade drops on week 1, that will make for 3 weeks of upgrades for the weapon. Either way, it will be 3 or 4 weeks. And I'd imagine will require repeated runs inside of the exotic mission, perhaps unlocking additional secrets and elements within that content. And when we're doing that, we'll get access to the command frame upgrades. So, of course, there's the base command frame, then we get command frame 2, 3, and 4. At the moment, we know those intrinsic upgrades exist, but we don't know what the stat changes will be or any other additional kind of sandbox components. Typically, they do tend to be stat upgrades or unlocks for additional barrels and magazines, as once again, these will be craftable. But for the refit catalysts specifically, firstly, the weapon will be able to get destabilizing rounds. Of course, with it being a void auto rifle, that could be pretty solid, but there'll also be an onslaught refit, as well as a subsistence refit. And especially Onslaught and Destabilizing Round sound pretty exciting. And as far as we know it at the moment, this will be the next exotic weapon that we actually get access to. Of course, it's possible that other things could drop between now and then. We'll simply have to wait and see. But obviously, Bungie want to drop something juicy in that final act of the episode before we head into episode 2. So Choir of One will certainly be keeping us busy between the end of August and perhaps mid-September. And following that, I believe episode 2 is due to launch sometime in October. So we're going to have to wait a little while before we get access to it. I don't personally mind that too much, at least it gives us something to do in that final act, especially given that we've got plenty of final shape content and the second act for the episode to come between now and then. But give us your thoughts about it down below. Interestingly though, there is the lore tab for Choir of One, and it reads, the Vex Goblin waded into the lake of Radiolaria with the same unerring purpose to which it approached all things, as directed and designed. Its own massive Radiolaria crawled and coiled through its body like worms through the thick soil of Nessus. Its mind was elsewhere, there, the great roots of thought buried deep into it, and every other Vex enslaved beneath it. The soft shimmer of white envelopes the Vex up to its knee joint. Then a hand reached out to it, and the Vex felt a press against its cranium, a thumbprint, an activation code, biometric data, and the radial area inside it lit up with activity and noise burning through its metal body. Then, disarticulated, it trembled and fell apart, limbs unjoined, chassis cracked and curled, a globule of radial area disseminated through the lake reclaimed. But something called it to rise, then, rejoined, its pieces slotted together and moved flawlessly. It rose steadily, balanced, formed with utter perfection, and the radial area slid from its body in droplets that separated, reformed, separated, and reformed, each one a mind, each mind a thought, and the Vex felt the soft split of its own mind as that thought sharpened in its cranium, a burst of light, a sharp spark, a choice. It looked to its creator and bowed. So, an interesting lore tab right there, perhaps some teasers to some of the story components that will link with this mission. But for today, that's what we know about the upcoming exotic, so certainly something to look forward to. Those are pretty much all of the details we have for the moment, so give us your thoughts in the comment section. Does it sound like an exciting weapon? I think it could be a pretty funky one based on what we've seen in the perks, but give us your thoughts below, and if you've enjoyed the video, a rating really does help us out on the channel. Plus, be sure to get subscribed if you want to be kept up to date with more Destiny content. But otherwise, I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.
I hear it still.
The witness is dead. From that victory, something new emerged. At first, we didn't know what to call them, but Echo seemed apt. You won't be alone. We're sending our best.
I was once the Vex's greatest opponent. I should remind them.
I never thought I'd see him shaken up like that. He's always so strong.
Do not forget what you're dealing with. Uploaded, judged, and eliminated.
I will be ready.